The thrill of the Olympics is undeniable. Athletes pushing their limits. The new stadiums shine brightly for the world to see, and millions of people are amazed as they watch. But behind the scenes, things aren't always as exciting. While the world celebrates, the cities hosting the events often face a tough reality: massive debts, underused facilities, and lasting environmental impacts. Hosting the Olympics is a monumental task, with costs that often go far beyond the original estimates. Take the 2014 Sochi Winter Games, for example. The event was initially budgeted at $10 billion, but the final cost soared to an astonishing $51 billion. This huge overspend was because of big construction projects, infrastructure upgrades, and security measures. Unfortunately, Sochi is not an outlier. This trend of overspending has become the norm for Olympic hosts. The Rio 2016 Olympics faced similar financial difficulties, compounded by Brazil's economic downturn. Economist Andrew Zimbalist, in his book Rio 2016, explores how the costs of building venues, the Olympic Village, and media facilities often overshadow the anticipated benefits like increased tourism and urban development. Rio's situation is a stark reminder that the expected economic benefits often fail to materialize, leaving cities burdened with debt and underutilized infrastructure. A recurring issue with hosting the Olympics is the phenomenon of white elephants, grand venues that are rarely used after the Games. The Bird's Nest Stadium in Beijing, constructed for the 2008 Olympics, now mostly sits empty, costing the city around $10 million annually for upkeep. This situation highlights a bigger problem of urban decay and poor management, where these huge investments don't give lasting benefits to the cities. These underused buildings not only put a strain on public finances, but also cast a shadow over the city's legacy, adding to a feeling of economic and social stagnation. The environmental impact of hosting the Olympics is another major concern. The 2018 Winter Olympics in Pyeongchang, for example, led to the destruction of a forest to create ski slopes, sparking considerable environmental concerns. These large construction projects often disrupt local ecosystems, put wildlife at risk, and cause long-term ecological damage. The carbon footprint of the Olympics, from construction, international travel, and event logistics, adds another layer of environmental impact that cannot be ignored. Despite the International Olympic Committee's (IOC) efforts to promote sustainability, the effectiveness of these initiatives is often questioned. For example, while the Tokyo 2020 Olympics touted their sustainability efforts, including metals made from recycled electronics and hydrogen-powered vehicles, the overall environmental footprint of the Games remained significant. The extensive infrastructure projects, temporary venues, and global travel for participants and spectators all contributed to a significant environmental impact. These financial and environmental challenges have led to a noticeable decline in the number of cities willing to bid for future Olympic Games. For instance, for the 2022 Winter Olympics, only Beijing and Almaty remained in the running after other potential hosts withdrew. This trend shows a growing doubt about the feasibility and desirability of hosting the Olympics under the current model. This reluctance was also evident during the bidding process for the 2024 and 2028 Olympics. Initially, several cities expressed interest, but only Paris and Los Angeles remained by the final decision. Recognizing this trend, the IOC made an unprecedented decision to award the 2024 Games to Paris and the 2028 Games to Los Angeles simultaneously. This move was meant to keep interest in hosting the Olympics while addressing concerns about the rising costs and logistical challenges of such a large-scale event. A major challenge for many host cities is the economic downturn often experienced after the Games. This downturn, often called the post-Olympic Valley effect, is characterized by a sharp decline in economic activity, underuse of newly built infrastructure, and drops in real estate prices. For example, the Montreal 1976 Olympics left the city with a debt that took decades to repay. The city's main stadium, with its expensive retractable roof, was hardly used afterward, putting the financial burden on taxpayers. Similarly, the Moscow 1980 Olympics left the Soviet Union with significant budget deficits, exacerbated by the costs associated with the Games. The 1988 Seoul Olympics, despite being seen as a success, led to an economic slowdown in the following years due to the overdevelopment of real estate. The bubble created by this overdevelopment eventually burst, affecting both local and national economies. Barcelona's 1992 Olympics initially spurred urban renewal and economic growth, but the city faced a sharp decline in real estate prices and overall economic activity after the Games. The extensive infrastructure investments, particularly in the hotel industry, resulted in an oversupply, with occupancy rates plummeting once the event ended. The Sydney 2000 Olympics also encountered issues typical of post-Games economic downturns. While the event was successful in the short term, the anticipated long-term economic benefits were not fully realized. The Olympic Village, which housed thousands of athletes, became significantly underutilized, earning the nickname Ghost Town. The expected tourism boom failed to materialize at the scale predicted, and the economic benefits diminished over time. The financial strain and underutilization of infrastructure often leave host cities struggling to justify the enormous costs. In response to these concerns, the International Olympic Committee has introduced a series of reforms, including the Olympic Agenda 2020+5. This initiative builds on the earlier Agenda 2020 inches framework, aiming to further enhance the Games' sustainability, legacy, and overall efficiency. The Olympic Agenda 2020+5 emphasizes reducing the complexity and costs of hosting, encouraging the use of existing and temporary venues, and integrating sustainability into all aspects of the Games. The IOC has also focused on making the bidding process more transparent and flexible. Cities are now encouraged to present more realistic budgets and to propose events that align with their long-term urban development plans. This approach aims to minimize the risk of financial overruns and ensure that the infrastructure investments made for the Games can serve the community long after the Olympics are over. One proposed solution is to establish a permanent host city for the Olympics. This concept would eliminate the need for the costly and competitive bidding process and reduce the environmental and financial impact associated with constructing new infrastructure for each edition of the Games. Los Angeles, with its extensive existing sports facilities and infrastructure, is often cited as a potential permanent host. The city already has much of the necessary infrastructure, which could help significantly reduce costs and minimize the environmental impact. Another idea gaining traction is rotating the Games among a select group of cities that already have the necessary infrastructure. This approach could help distribute the financial and environmental burdens more evenly while maintaining the tradition and global appeal of the Olympics. So, what does the future hold for the Olympic dream? The rising financial, environmental, and social costs present significant challenges. The IOC's proposed reforms and the results of the Paris 2024 Games could be crucial. The next few years will be key in deciding whether the Olympics can adapt to these challenges or if the current model will become increasingly unsustainable. If you found this exploration interesting, don't forget to like and subscribe. Share your thoughts on the future of the Olympics in the comments below.